all the delegates, and hope you all had a very good session in the morning of that is of first session 6 by Mr. Prashant Bhushan Mishra sir, Prabhat Ranjan Mishra sir, and now we have our expert speaker that is Dr. Brahmeshwar Mishra sir, a professor of Indian Institute of Technology, BHU, Varanasi, and sir is going to deliver a talk on risk management for effective medication. And I welcome you, sir, for this day 3 of ASTTP sponsored by AICT. And thank you from our side for accepting the invite and uh, very eager to listen to your session. And to do the honorings, I request my colleague, Ms. L. Divya, to do the honorary introduction for Dr. Rameshwar, sir. Divya, madam, can take the session for presentations.
Yes. A very good afternoon to respected principal, today's speaker, Professor Dr. Brahmeshwar Mishra Garu, all the delegates of STTP program and my dear colleagues. Myself, L. Divya, Associate Professor in the Department of Pharmaceutics. I am privileged to brief about our today's session speaker, Dr. Brahmeshwar Mishra Garu. Dr. Brahmeshwar Mishra is working as Professor of Pharmaceutics at the Department of Pharmaceutical Engineering and Technology, IIT BHU. He has served as head for 4 years in the same department. He has 36 years of teaching and research experience. He is reputed academician and acclaimed researcher. His area of research is development and evaluation of novel drug delivery systems, including nanoformulations. He has guided 2 PDF, 26 PhD, and 74 MPharm students. Currently, 7 PhD, 4 MPharm, and 2 MTech students are working under him. He has published 2+ articles in reputed international and national journals, 226 abstracts, 15 book chapters, 2 books, and 3 patents published. Till date, he has earned 6,254 citations, H Index 39 and I-10 Indexed 122 to his credit. He has also completed many research projects. He has been conferred with 27 awards, including Best Young Pharmacy Teacher Award by APTI and Best Publication Awards in the year 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, among others, IIT BHU, faculty by IIT BHU, Alumni Association, USA. He visited many countries and delivered several lectures in India and abroad. He is on editorial board and reviewer of large number of reputed international and national journals and serving as expert member of AICTE, PCI, UGC, DST, NBA and NAC, etc. He has also successfully completed 3 weeks leadership for academicians program LEAP sponsored by Government of India MHRD in 2020. Professor Mishra is an acclaimed researcher as is evidenced by his name appearing in top 2% of world scientists list in pharmacology category recently declared by Stanford University, USA. We welcome you, sir, and we feel honored you to have as today's expert speaker. Thank you one and all for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Should I proceed?
Sir, sure, sir. You can proceed, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So let me share my screen first. So I think it is visible. My slide is visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible,
slide.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
Thank
so
you,
to start with my talk on the topic risk management for effective medication, I'm going to topic little later, but as a customary, whenever I used to give my talk to any platform, I always offer my prayer in the lotus feet of 3 dignitaries, 1 goddess and 2 human being. So my first prayer goes into the lotus feet of Ma Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. And we all know that if we know any small things in our career, It is only because of the blessings of Ma Saraswati. So my prayer goes to her lotus feet. My second prayer goes to the, you can see the photograph on the right top side. It is a photograph of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji, Bharat Ratna Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji. I offer my prayer to his lotus feet because he is the founder of this great university known as Banaras Hindu University, and was started in as early as in 1916, so 105 years before, in such a big campus, which could be visualized by such great visionary like Mahamana Malviya ji. So therefore, I am since my education is also in BHU and my teaching in BHU, so my full respect and my pranam goes to his lotus feet because of his efforts, person like me are able to be here and doing whatever I am doing. My third pranam goes to the, you see, you might be recognizing this photograph at the right side lower corner. It is a photograph of your father of pharmacy, Professor M.L. Saraf. Now, why I am offering my prayer to him? Because, he is the person who brought pharmacy education very first time in not only in India, but also in Southeast Asia. And this Department of Pharmaceutics, where I am working and also where I have studied, was started as early as in 1932 by this great personality. And this great personality, Professor M.L. Saraf, was brought by Malviya ji from abroad to start a pharmacy education. You can understand that how great visionary Professor Malviya ji was, that at that time he thought that there will be need of something like medicine in the country in a big way because of the increasing population, and so therefore there should be education. And that is what, it is started by Saraf Sahab, and we all are, we should all rather offer our prayer in the lotus feet of Saraf, because we are in the field of pharmaceutical education as well as whatever pharmaceutical field, it is only because of his blessings. So with these words, my fourth pranam always goes to my audience, who is with me for 1.5 hours, to whom I will be delivering something. I would like to keep everyone comfortable by providing some knowledge, which I know many of you might be knowing earlier also, but might be many of you may not be knowing some of the facts that we are being given the medicine, but how can we increase the medication effectiveness? We can reduce the toxicity without any changing of the medicine dose or the type of the medicine, or without any other change, or even without going to the doctor visiting next time. So how we can increase the effectiveness of the medicines? That is what, and what kind of risk is there with medication? We all know that now we see that it is a COVID time. In this COVID time, everybody who is getting recovered is getting so much weakness for not only 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even a month. They are so weak. Why this weakness is happening? There is something happening wrong with the kind of medication which is being given to these patients, and therefore all ill effect of or side effects of those medication might have resulted into a severe kind of weakness. We all know that any medicine, if you consume, you have already studied the pharmacology, and we all know that each and every drug are associated or linked with many side effects. At least if you see pharmacology, if you read the side effect, you will never consume any medicine, because none of the drug is having less than 5 to 10 side effects. So therefore, my objective of this talk is that how to manage that kind of side effects or toxicity which is going to happen, how we can minimize this, and then how we can manage that efficacy of the same drug which is prescribed can be improved by a little bit of our awareness. As I've already told you that you are all pharmacy teachers, so you all be knowing most of the things, but still you may appreciate that whatever I am going to talk to you might be something which we have been missing in our life. So therefore, this talk is going to be heard by, this is a, if I will tell you that, I may tell you that this talk is, I have delivered at more than 50 platforms. And even this talk is being taken as a public lecture by all those academic staff colleges where the people or teachers of different disciplines used to sit, attend. So, and it is a very popular lecture. That's why even I prefer to give this talk in front of the pharmacy people because the feedback which I get from them, they say that, sir, many of the things which you are telling, we have never taken care of those things, and therefore it is going to be very, very effective. So I'm still on the first slide. Don't worry, I'm moving on to the next slide. So I'm just putting a case. The case is that a patient has gone to the doctor. Now let me just a minute. The case is like this: that patient has gone to the doctor, and he or she, whosoever is the patient, has been rightly diagnosed. The first problem is with the diagnosis of the disease. But patient is fortunate that he or she is rightly diagnosed. Second step is that having the right prescription of the medicine. So if the patient is again very fortunate, he will get a good number of, none of the prescription, generally you used to have 3 or 4 medicines. It is always more than that. So if the patient is fortunate enough, he will be prescribed with the right kind of the medicines for the treatment of that rightly diagnosed disease. So this is the second step. Now the third step, the patient starts consuming the medicine. Now there are 2 or 3 possibilities are there. The first very possibility is the patient, since he is rightly diagnosed and rightly prescribed with the medicine, he has started consuming the medicine and he is getting very good response as far as treatment is concerned, and is getting very, I have stopped. Don't worry, I will just say it. I'm just facing you. So, so patient is, consuming the medicine and is getting treatment well. So that is one aspect, and this is happening. This is very fine. Second situation is that patient is being rightly prescribed with the same medicine. Patient is not getting the proper treatment response, and also there is a different kinds of the associated side effects or toxicities happening into the patients. Then what the patient will do? The patient will again go to the doctor, maybe within a week, and will say that I'm not getting the response. Or these are the problems which I am facing. So what the doctor will do? Doctor will either change the drug or brand. You'll be also surprised that many of the times, in order to satisfy, the psychological level of the patient, they simply change the brand. The drug is the same. So any such kind of things the doctor used to give. But issue is that if you consider the first point, that the patient was rightly diagnosed and rightly prescribed with the medicine, then why there is no treatment response? Why there is no proper efficacy is there? Why there is a different kinds of the toxicity is there? Is there any labs for which the patient himself is responsible? So therefore, I'm going to tackle all these kind of issues, that if the second situation happens, how the patient is going to get the best treatment response and also less side effects with the same prescription. So this is here. So I am just presenting. Don't worry. Presentation is already there, so don't worry for that. This is visible. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir. It's
Presentation
fine.
is slide is visible. Okay, so this was
Yes,
first slide. I'm going to. So I think I have just given a background that what about this talk is. That was the introduction. Now I am starting. This is my first slide. So we do know that environment affects our health. That is very well known. But environment also affects the health of the medicine, and we also know according to this, because we know that the medicine or food materials or anything has to be stored under certain environmental conditions of storage. So these are the 4, environmental conditions which are not very friendly to the drug also, and these are not very friendly to the living being like human being also. So what are these? So temperature or heat, moisture, light, and microbial contaminations. So these are the four conditions. We cannot allow any kind of the microbial contamination into any drug product. And if you are allowing, you can understand what is going to happen. We cannot allow any light sensitive drug to be stored even into the artificial light. That has to be always stored into the dark conditions. We cannot allow any moisture sensitive drug to be stored around in the bathroom or around the kitchen tap or maybe on the bath basin tap upside, because we have to always prevent the atmosphere of the moisture not to be present at those kind of moisture sensitive drug. Similarly, any drug which is thermolabile, we cannot afford to have any kind of rise in the temperature. But all these four conditions are there in our environment. Heat is also there in different changing months. Moisture is also there. Now it is a season which is coming, rainy season. You will be having a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. Light is always there, and microbial contamination is always possible because environment is polluted and contaminated. So we get. So these are the four important conditions which affect the efficacy. And because of these four conditions, this may look to you that it is something I am talking about UG, but don't worry. This thing is going to be correlated in later slides, that how the efficacy is going to be affected and how the toxicity is going to be affected. So physical changes, which physical type of the instability, color change, settling of particles, etc., etc. You can just like moistening of the capsule, surface removal or non-uniform distribution of colors in the tablet, change in flavor, etc. These are our physical change which we can see by our naked eye or which we can sense if there is a change in the flavor. And physical instability is not considered to be a serious type of the instability, but is certainly going to have a kind of negative setback to the mind of the patient, and that's why the patient may not be getting a desired treatment effect because of any physical instability which is being now visualized or can be seen by the patient. So then in his or her mind, in the minds of the patient, it is always there, this question, there's something wrong in the medicine. For example, settling of the particles in the liquid medicines, how serious this is. If it is a settled suspension, and that unfortunately, if it is a caked suspension or cemented suspension, you cannot have the uniform dose. And if you cannot have the uniform dose, how can you expect the efficacy into the patient? So therefore, these are very small things, but very, very important issues which need to be taken care of while these kind of medicines are being consumed during the treatment. And especially, most of the children below the age of 5 years, they are mostly being given with the liquid type of the products. And mostly water insoluble drugs or poorly water soluble drugs are given as suspension. And this is a big issue, that if you are not properly homogenizing by shaking of the bottle, you are not going to have the proper dose. And each 5 ml of the dose which you are giving to your child is not going to get the proper response. Same is the case with the ophthalmic, many ophthalmic preparations, eye drops, which are also of the suspension type. And if you are not properly shaking the eye drop properly, you are not going to have the proper dose at each instillation of the drop, and you cannot expect proper treatment of your eye problem. I can talk about any disease with this kind of formulations, and if you are not going to be properly shaking and uniformly mixing the drug by shaking into throughout the volume of the liquid, whatever it is there in the bottle, then you are going to non-uniformity of the dose, which is going to be very, very serious. What is going to happen? The first initial doses are having less amount of the drug, and the later part of the bottle is going to have more amount of the drug. So therefore, initially you are not going to have the effect, and later when you are taking the dose, because you are taking higher doses, so therefore efficacy will be there, but you are going to have the toxicity or adverse effects. So these are the problem. Physical instability should generally does not considered to be a serious one, but let me tell you, my friends, it is still a serious issue. Second is the chemical instability. So whenever we talk about the chemical kind of the instability, it always happens because of the chemical reactions. And these chemical reactions within a medicine can happen between the drug and the excipients which we are using, that is additives. It can happen between the drug and the packaging materials, including the container and the closure. It can happen between the drug and the vehicle. Vehicle is the solvent or the, let us say, even solid in the case of solid dosage form, which we are using the highest quantity. So that can happen, the reaction between that. The reaction can happen between the additives and the vehicle, between the additives and the packaging material. Now these reactions, whenever you put two chemical compounds together, and when they are in contact continuously with the packaging material, and packaging material, either it is a glass or plastic or anything, it is also is some chemical compound. So reaction is also possible, and these reactions are going to be aggravated by the previous four conditions of environmental conditions which I have said. For example, if let us say there is no reaction usually happens at 25 degrees centigrade of storage between drug and additive, fine enough. But at 37 degree your temperature, like this, at this moment of time, there is a reaction happens. That means a study has to be done to see that where the reaction is going to be least and at which particular environmental condition reaction is going to be more. So therefore, the chemical instability is going to be aggravated by, is going to be enhanced by the chemical, that is the storage conditions. So therefore, it is very, very important and that you understand that because of the chemical reactions, what is happening. So when a drug and additive is reacting together, what is happening? A third compound is formed. Because of the reaction, always the third compound is formed, which we call as a reactant product. The chemistry people must be knowing very well this. We all must be knowing. And these reactant products, may always not be safe. May not be safe for the health of the person or the patient. They may be toxic in nature. Now, with the enhancement, with the function of time, when these chemical reactions are going to increase, the amount of reactant product is also going to be increased. And if unfortunately, the reactant product is, let us say, toxic to the body, so what is happening? You are going to have in your drug product within the packaging material, because of this reaction, lesser of the dose is reducing because of the chemical reaction, so efficacy will be less, and reactant product which may be toxic to your body is increasing in content, and therefore there may be more toxicity to your body. So therefore, in any case, this chemical reaction has to be kept at the minimum level by storing your drug product at the prescribed storage condition. Because if it is not stored at a prescribed storage conditions, these chemical reactions can be aggravated, and when these are enhanced, result into the reactant product to increase in content, decrease in drug dose, resulting into the less efficacy and more toxicity. So very, very serious issue as far as the chemical reaction is concerned. And third type of instability is microbiological, which we anyway cannot allow in any of the drug product. Though generally, we do contain antimicrobial preservative into the eye products or the, let us say, nasal products or all the parenteral products. But as a matter of fact, if you will agree with me that none of the products, even a cough syrup, do you think that would you allow any kind of fungal infection or contamination into your cough syrup? No, nobody will allow any kind of the bacterial or the fungal kind of contamination. So this microbial contamination has to be completely avoided. How it is possible? It is possible if your packaging material, which is there, it is intact completely right from the day of manufacturing till it is in the hand of the patient. And especially when you are consuming the medicine, let us say if it is a bottle, and if you are taking out of a tablet or a capsule out of the bottle, and then you are leaving it as such, or if you are taking a, let us say, cough syrup or any liquid formulation, and then it has somehow that cap has remained open for some time. So you are inviting the microbial contamination. So packaging material is very, very important. Drug products are well packaged, considering this fact into the mind that it should be completely protected from the microbiological contamination. But it is our responsibility as a patient to see that it always remains closed if it is a multi-dose container. Well, friends, so I was talking about the environmental factors affecting the efficacy. And now this third slide is showing that environmental factor inside the body also affect the efficacy of the medicine. And that's why, many of the medicines are to be given under specific conditions of the instruction, like to be taken with the meal, before meal, after meal, empty stomach, or with water or milk, etc. Why these instructions are coming? Because if you take any medicine which was supposed to be taken with the meal, and if you take it before meal, what is going to happen? If you are taking before meal, this drug might be very irritant to your GI tract, it might be ulcerative, it might not be absorbing well when you are taking with the meal. Its bioavailability may be reduced, its pharmacokinetic profile may change. And therefore, these conditions are very, very important, which are the conditions inside the body. So any drug which has to be taken under specific conditions, any of these specific conditions, if not be taken under these conditions, I can assure you that you cannot get the desired treatment response, and you can also have the toxicity. And how it is possible? It is also again being possible because of certain chemical reactions happening between the drug and the food content, which is called as a drug-food interaction. There might be drug-drug interaction which might be aggravated under certain specific conditions when you are taking, and there is a kind of a drug-disease interaction. Now, drug-drug interactions, drug-food interaction, you can understand very easily. I don't think there is any problem. But drug-disease interaction is something that you are taking a drug for some disease, and then you are developing some other disease. And many of the drugs, drugs are withdrawn from the market only because of this problem. For example, if you take all the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, they are very harsh to the GI tract. They are all ulcerative. They are all irritant. They may develop an ulcers in your gastrointestinal tract, and that's why all the NSAIDs, including paracetamol, are always being prescribed with one antacid, some kind of prozol, pantoprazole or aviprazole or anything. So why this is going to happen? This is going to happen because we are going to develop a drug-disease interaction. Now, how we can minimize this drug-disease interaction? Now, NSAID, because it is an irritant to the gastric mucosa, and since it is causing, a kind of ulceration possibilities are there, that's why it should be always be taken immediately after meal, or with the meal also, you can say, like food constituents. The food products or the nutraceuticals generally are said that it should be taken with the meal. Why? Because we are in the meal also, we are having the nutrients, and the nutraceuticals are the nutrients. It should be taken along with the meal. But NSAIDs should always be taken after meal. Why? Because if you are taking after meal, your GI tract is not free. I mean, mucosa of stomach and small intestine is not free. It is already covered by the food material. And so therefore that irritant effect or the ulcerative effect of this drug is going to be felt less. And therefore a kind of side effects which you are expecting may not happen. Or if at all happen, it happens to be a very less extent. So that's why these are very, very important issues, my dear friends, that these conditions which are associated with any medicine, and if you are especially unfortunately, doctors do not write this condition into the prescription that how it should be taken because of their very busy schedule, lot of population. Now we understand that what is the gap we have in our country as far as the number of doctors required per population, per 1,000 population or per 100 population or per 10 population. There is a huge gap is there. And because of that huge gap, they are not writing all these kind of instructions onto the prescription. And therefore, we are not able to take medicine exactly in the desired form or desired way, which is supposed to be. And that's why we are going to have different kinds of the problem. So therefore, environmental factors inside the body is also very, very important issue to be considered, which may decrease the efficacy and also can increase the toxicity. I am just skipping actually because time will not be more, and I have usually the habit of explaining the things in a greater detail. So I am simply telling you, maybe I may take 2 or 3 minutes. People consider that Ayurvedic medicines are safe, okay? And in this COVID pandemic, it has proved that if you are taking kadha, etc., or even some kind of medicine like Coronilla of Patanjali or something like that, which is nothing but ashwagandha, tulsi, etc., so you are well treated. I'm not going to have any kind of contradictory view on this issue. I rather believe that yes, Ayurvedic medicines, if it is rightly made in proper defined classical way of the Ayurvedic concept, then it is very, very effective in the treatment of many diseases. What I am concerned with is in the Ayurvedic medicine, the expiry date. The expiry date which is mentioned on the Ayurvedic medicines it cannot be calculated as we are doing by accelerated stability testing into the modern medicine. So because it cannot be calculated, because none of the Ayurvedic medicine is consisting of only one drug constituent or phytoconstituent, it is consisting of many, and we cannot analyze each and every phytoconstituents, and therefore we cannot measure or we cannot predict the expiry date of the Ayurvedic drugs. So therefore, the government had made certain guidelines, this kind of a Drug and Under Cosmetics Act 2009 in 2010, 1st April, the government published a notification into the official gazette, and they have defined that a different class of the Ayurvedic products will have what expiry date. उसके पीछे कोई रोल नहीं है. That has been taken from the Charak Samhita, which is a classical test of Ayurveda. So, for example, if I am a manufacturer of, let us say, if I am manufacturing churna, kwath, and churn, of any kwath churn, kwath is also a kind of churn. So, if I am manufacturing this for selling into the market, I can simply put the expiry date 2 years without even estimating, because I cannot estimate the expiry date. So government has given a kind of certificate by putting into the Gazette notification with effect from 1st April 2010 that Ayurvedic drugs manufacturer can put their expiry date like this. And you will be knowing or may not be knowing that some of the medicines in Ayurveda like Rasaushadhis or Rasav and Arist and many others, Bhasmas, they don't have expiry date. That means it is said that more they are old, more they are gold. I mean, more they are old, they are going to be more efficacious. So therefore, Ayurvedic drugs, from where these number of years has come as expiry date, all this has come from the classical Ayurvedic textbook of Charak Samhita. In that classical textbook of Charak Samhita, the type of the product is written and the predicted expiry date is mentioned. So simply they have copied it. The committee which was made, they have just copied it, and they have now given these expiry date. Now for manufacturer, it is now very easy to them that whatever they are, for example, if somebody is preparing Ghan Bhati, Giloy Ghan Bhati or any other, even Neem Ghan Bhati, many other Ghan Bhatis are there. You simply put the expiry date 3 years. But the same thing is going to be very, very serious issue in the case of modern medicine. So self-life for modern medicine, which means self-life is nothing but the expiry date. And why I am going to tell you self-life, because the self-life is very, very, closely related with the efficacy, treatment, and also the side effects. So I have all taken this information from the label. It is and different kinds of the label, either it is a drug product, nutraceuticals, cosmetics, or the food products, or any such products which we expire. These are the different terms which are written like expiry or expiry date, best before, end, or best before, or shelf life. They are all having the same meaning. I am talking about the modern medicine, modern drug. What is the meaning of this expiry date? You all know this. It is that time from the date of manufacturing till we are able to maintain the 90% of the dose into the medicine. That means 10% of the dose is degraded. On the day on which 10% of the dose is degraded, that date becomes the expiry date or shelf life. But additional information is that with the proper maintenance of physical and chemical and of course strength or properties of the medicine. So as far as the strength of the drug is concerned, we cannot go below 90% of the maintenance. That means we cannot allow 11% of the drug degradation to happen. If you are allowing 10.1% degradation, drug product is expired. So anyway, for example, today is 26th May 2021, and if any drug, expiry date, if it is mentioned on the label as a May 21, so it is going to expire on the last day of the month. So if date is not mentioned, it is always the last day of the month. So on 31st May, it is expected to contain either 90% or more than 90% of the drug. So this is very good, fine enough. Any consumer as a patient or as a purchaser consumer for the food products or the cosmetics or toiletry products, we simply see the expiry date. वो भी सब लोग, everyone is not going to see, but some of you or some of us are seeing this. But my friend, seeing the expiry date is not the solution to the problem. I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to open that page in next slides, that seeing the expiry date and being very comfortable that I'm consuming the medicine within expiry date, you are mistaken. The expiry date might not have happened. For example, as I said that today you are consuming a medicine which is going to expire in 31st May 2021. You are happy because you are saying that it is going to expire in, let us say, 4 or 5 days after. Forget about this. A drug is going to expire in 2022 May and has been manufactured in 2020. Okay, so 1 year before it is manufactured and 1 year after it is going to expire, today you are going to consume. You are very fine that I am consuming a medicine which is not yet expired. It is going to expire in 1 year. But I am going to tell you with the facts and figures that if I say to you that, see here, your medicine is already expired. The medicine which you are consuming today, which is expiry date is next year, it is already expired. And how can you get the efficacy and how can you get the safety as far as this medication is concerned? So you will be just surprised. As a pharmacy person, certainly you will be saying that what you are talking about. So I am just going to answer this question. So the very first question is there any link between the storage condition and the expiry date? This storage condition is linked with the first slide. The first slide I have shown that what are the environmental conditions which affect our efficacy of the medicine. I have shown you the 4 environmental conditions, that is the heat, moisture, light, and the microbial contamination. And these storage conditions which are mentioned on the label of your medicine or food products or the cosmetics or anything has to be followed. And is it followed or not? That is the point of concern. So answer is yes. There is a clear link between the storage conditions and the expiry date. Let us see. Now, these are some of the instructions which appear on the label. ये सारे इंस्ट्रक्शन लेबल से लिए गए, मेरा अपना कुछ बनाया हुआ नहीं है. So you can just see it. Keep in a cool and dry place. Even our pharmaceutics teacher, when they are in the lab doing some dispensing or any pharmaceutical preparation you are getting prepared, the student used to write this kind of instruction on the label, cool and dry, cool and dark, without even understanding what is the meaning of this. So therefore, these carry a lot of meaning, and I am just going to tell you that what meaning they are carrying. So store away from sunlight. But I am saying store away from sunlight means what? Do you think that anybody is going to keep their medicine into sunlight? No. Nobody is going to keep your medicine in the sunlight. So why this instruction is coming? It is a very, a kind of confusing type of instruction. But I just going to explain you the meaning of this is, in the day hours, all the rooms, all the offices, if you don't start even your tube lights or artificial lights, then also we do have light in our room. And same room in the night conditions or after the evening, we don't have light. So in day hours, when we do not have the artificial light, why our room is illuminated? It's only because of the sunlight. So my friend, if there is any instruction like store away from sunlight, does not mean that it has to be not kept into the sunlight. The meaning is that it has not to be kept into any kind of light, whether it is artificial light or whether it is a room where artificial light is not made on, because the room is illuminated because of the sun rays or sunlight radiations which are coming inside, and those sunlight radiations are not going to be good for the health of the medicine. So you can see that these are the very specific instructions, like store between 15 to 25 degrees centigrade. How many of us are going to measure the temperature to see that whether my drug product is stored at between 15 to 25? Similarly, at control temperature 15 to 30, no, but they have a very specific meaning for that. Why? Let me see this slide. Let us see this slide. These are, as far as the Indian pharmacopoeia is concerned, these are the meaning of the different storage conditions. Like if you see any drug product is to be stored at a cold condition, that means temperature should be between 2 to 8. So 2 to 8 can be obtained only into the fridge, not refrigerated part. In fridge we can get this temperature. So it is obvious that any drug product, if it is having a storage condition as a cold, it has to be always be stored into the fridge. Now the issue is that from the date of manufacturing, when it has coming out of that company until that it has been in the hands of the patient, has it been placed at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade continuously without any break of chain? No. A very good example I can tell you, like insulin. The insulin is why I'm telling, because many of the people are now diabetic, and insulin has to be always stored into the fridge. There are many products are there, like we are taking nowadays vaccine. Vaccine has to be stored between this kind of temperature. The cold chain has to be maintained. So we are just believing that it is cold chain is maintained till it's manufactured, until I am being injected. But whether it is maintained continuously or not, there are many loopholes, in our medication system, which brings down the efficacy and increases the toxicity. And one of the loophole is improper storage condition maintenance. So, and it is, I have seen in my own home in patient that an insulin, if you are purchasing from the market, insulin expiry date is usually 3 years. Usually 3 years. So let us say 2-year-old, if you are 2.5-year-old, if you are purchasing an insulin and injecting to a diabetic patient, and you are still happy that Abhi Chame, it is going to expire after 6 months, but you just see the result. You take that injection and see the result, how much reduction is there in the glucose. Then you take 1-year-old insulin, and then you see that how much reduction is happening, and then you take a 6 months old manufactured. I mean, 2.5 hours is the expiry date is still left. What I have tested, what I have seen, that if I am purchasing the insulin at a very closer dates of the manufacturing, it is more efficacious. It is reducing the sugar to a much higher level as it was this, because it is prescribed to maintain a particular blood sugar level. If you are prescribed with the 20 units of the insulin 2 times or 3 times a day to maintain a blood sugar level, but who is going to talk about that when it is going to expire, when you have purchased, where it has been stored into the fridge? Who is going to ask all these questions? Nobody. And you as a consumer, if you are a non-pharmacy or non-medical person, you do not know. Even medical persons do not put emphasis on this. So therefore, this insulin, which is very, very fresh, is more efficacious. Why? Because the chances are less that it is more exposed to a temperature more than 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. Cool is between above 8 to 25 degrees centigrade. It is greater than 8, that is 9 to 25 you can say. So these are the different temperature condition. Freezer means minus 10 to 20. So any drug product which need to be stored into the freezer has to be stored here. Now, these two are very important information. There is dry place. So dry place means away from the moisture. And you might be knowing there are many, you might have seen the, dry syrups. In the bottle, there is a drug powder is there. And the drug powder is there, and then you are putting into this a warm and then cooled water up to a level, shaking it, and then it is consuming. Why it is being done so? Because those drugs are not stable into the moisture. Like, many of the injections are coming as a powder into the vials, and they are being made liquid at the time of injection by putting a butterfly injection into that, a sterile butterfly injection. So you can see that I'm taking a very old drug, but all the antibiotics which are coming as a dry syrup, the reason is the same, that if you make it dry, it's so long it remains as a dry powder into the bottle, its expiry date comes after 1 year. But as soon as you make it liquid, its expiry happens within 1 week. So 10% is gone just by the presence of moisture, water into your contact with your drugs. You can understand that how this serious issue is. And many of the mothers even use, let us say they have used 3 bottles for the treatment of her child, and a 4th bottle is having some medicine left, and they use it after somewhat. So when they are going to use it afterward, it has been already expired in 1 week, 6 months after the child again falls sick, and then again this bottle is being used. So what is going to happen? Dose to zero ho chuka almost. Dose has gone almost zero, and at the same time reactant products, because the reactant products which has happened because of the chemical reaction, that has gone into such a high content that might affect the health of the child in a very severe way. The kind of side effects which might happen to the child which one cannot imagine. So therefore you can understand that how important this issue is. Now company has written a dry place. They are safe now. I said that if you are getting no efficacy, if you are getting no desired efficacy, if you are getting any unwanted side effects, you might have not stored it in dry place. Who is going to explain that what exactly the meaning of dry place is? But these are some, ambiguous words are coming onto the label, which drug control department should take care. And I have my friends in those departments, and I am always talking to them that why not it should be very, very clearly mentioned on the, like cool. How many of us understand cool? What is the meaning of cool? What is the meaning of cold? Let it be very specific temperature. At least some of those which are literate people, they may take care of, and they can put their drug product into those specific conditions of the storage. Similarly, dark place. Dark place is, that means drug is light sensitive. Is a very classic example, very old drug, sodium nitroprusside. It expires. It is having, if it is completely kept into the dark, away from the light, its expiry is 1 year. But once it is kept into the normal room light, even normal room light, without exposing to the artificial light. Okay, because as I said that normal room light is also having the sunlight inside. That's why it is eliminated. It expires in 4 hours. You can just see. A light sensitive drug is going to expire in 4 hours. What does it mean? That means 10% of the dose has gone in 4 hours. So all such kind of drugs which are having specific instructions, cool and dry and cool and dark, are
Hello? Hello, sir? Hello? Dear delegates, please be patient for few minutes. Some technical glitches, I think. We'll rectify some.
Delegates are requested to wait for a while for 2 minutes, please. Sir is having some technical issue. He'll be rejoining within 3 minutes. Small information to you all. The recorded presentations of day 1 and day 2 sessions were posted already in the YouTube link. So the same link was posted in the WhatsApp group too. So those who are interested in need of recorded presentations, you can visit the YouTube channel and you can uh, listen the presentation. So you can, if possible, if you need of any downloading, we just will give you an access for downloading too. Kindly look at the presentations, and in feedback from many of the participants are requesting for the recorded presentation, so we made this accessible to all the participants. Have a look on that in the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm audible now.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir. Please continue, sir.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption. This problem is happening actually.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In these days, we are mostly relying on the internet connectivity and the online. So we are facing a lot of technical glitches, sir. Actually.
Yeah. I have to share. Hmm. I think I can share. I have shared in the mobile also my slides.
You can share, sir. You can share in the mobile.
Okay. So share screen. Okay, fine. Start sharing. Start now. Yeah, there is some problem with the sharing. Can I go ahead? I will just speak exactly what exactly I want to
And
tell.
sir, you just
And
click on, yeah, sir. You just click on the PPT, sir. The last,
oh,
yeah, the,
that
the
is
last slide you have, yeah, go last, sir.
just a minute.
It was there actually. Option was there. Yes, click on it, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Click on the third option, sir. The top right corner, third option is there. Click on it, sir. There is one slideshow button, sir, in the top right corner. It is visible, sir. Top right
Okay.
corner.
Starting slides. Is it visible?
Content is not there, sir.
Is it visible?
Yeah, some slide is visible, but content is not visible, sir. Sunil,
Huh?
can you ensure me?
Are you see the
Hello,
slide?
sir. Actually, your phone sharing was screen sharing was there, but we couldn't able to see the content on the slide.
Okay, content I have clicked. It is visible to me.
There might be some compatibility issues.
Okay, okay. Just a minute. The Wi-Fi has come. Let me join back on the
Okay, sir. No issues.
on the. Okay, just wait.
Okay, sir.
I'm audible. Hello.
Yes, sir.
But my slide is visible now. No.
No, sir. You need to share again, sir, from computer.
Just.
Stop sharing in the mobile, sir. First. You logged in the
Okay,
mobile,
okay.
so stop sharing in the mobile first and then
Yeah.
start sharing in the laptop.
Yes.
Right. I made it first. Yes.
Requesting all the participants to mute the microphones, please.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry for the interruption.
No
This
issues,
is a
sir.
common problem.
Yes.
So you can understand that the issue is that we have to take the medicines not considering the expiry date, but rather than we have to purchase the medicine as closer as possible to the manufacturing date, so that by the expiry date, if you just wait, and if there is a storage condition like cool dry or cool dark type of the conditions, your drug product is already expired. So this is one of the biggest problem. So the solution, only solution is, because we cannot go on checking the expiry date every time. The only solution is that you should purchase any of such products, whether it is a drug product or the cosmetics or the food product or any product, as close as possible to the manufacturing date. So therefore, even if it has not been stored into the proper condition, the at least efficacy may not be affected that much by, let us say, if you are purchasing a medicine within 3 months time of the manufacturing and the expiry date is 1 year or 2 year or 3 year, forget about that expiry date. You try to see the manufacturing date. That is the only solution, and there is no any other solution. And try to purchase the everything to as close as possible to the manufacturing date. So this is my submission after showing all these things, that because if you are going to closer to the expiry date, you are not going to the efficacy because it has been already expired. So now next slide is, I'll be talking something about bioavailability and pharmacokinetic aspect. Exactly, this slide is showing that what is happening when we consume any medicine. So when we consume any medicine, it goes to the absorption site. It may be GI tract, it may be muscular in the case of intramuscular injection, it can be skin site in the case of transdermal, it can be any site where you are administering the medicine. It goes there, from there it absorbs by a process of absorption. It has to first dissolve into the drug, has to dissolve into the biological fluid of the absorption site, has to absorb, has to go into the blood, and blood is since flowing each and every organ, then it is reaching to the disease site, so they're resulting into the treatment, and also reaching into the non-disease site, resulting into the side effects, because all the body tissues, cells and organs are exposed to the blood which is carrying the drug. So therefore, so long it is here at the disease site, we are getting the treatment, and so long it is here on the non-disease sites, we may get a kind of toxicity or interaction or kind of some hypersensitivity reaction. So we have to stop this moment, but this cannot be possible because blood is flowing everywhere. So if you talk about the ideal treatment, we have to do something where the drug is going to be delivered only at the disease site, and in spite of the blood is flowing into the all other sites, the drug is not delivered here. And that is where your nanoparticles and many other pro-drugs and many other concepts are coming. So anyway, purpose of this slide is just to show that what are the different processes any drug has to undergo into the body after administration. The first process is dissolution into the biological fluid. Second is absorption, going into the blood, and from the blood it is distributing. And the distribution is a reversible process, going to the disease site, resulting into the treatment, going to all other sites, resulting into the possible side effects, and then the drug, because blood is flowing to all the eliminating organs also, so drug is coming out of the body through these eliminating organs, which may be kidney, liver, lungs, tears, sweat, bile, saliva, or milk, out of which kidney and the liver is the major eliminating organs. This is known as so these are the, as you know, the ADME, absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So this is the same slide which is talking about that how the treatment happens, how the toxicity happens, and how the drug goes. Now this process is continuously on. That is, elimination has to always happen, because if elimination is not going to happen properly, then accumulation of drug will be there, and there is going to be toxicity into the patient, and that's why there is a kidney problem or the liver problem. So therefore, in any kidney defect or the liver defect, there is always swelling of the body happens because of the toxicity issues. So eliminating organs should always be a normal functioning. Absorbing organs should also be normal functioning in order to have the proper absorption, and distribution, since is going to happen through the blood, so therefore there has to be proper blood flow in each and every organ. मान लीजिए कि किसी organ में, जैसे for example heart attack, if heart attack is there, if all the three arteries are going to be blocked, or so no proper blood flow is there, so even if you are taking any drug also, that drug is not going to reach to the heart in the desired quantity, because it is already choked. So there are many issues are there, which take care of that how treatment happens and how there is a side effect. So now there is a relationship between the plasma drug concentration and treatment response. There is a bioavailability profile, and with this bioavailability profile, we correlate when the drug is going to produce how long drug is going to produce the treatment effect, when it is going to start the effect, and how long it can have. So this slide is going to be very important. For example, for each drug, there is a plasma drug concentration on the y-axis and time after the administration. So if you administer a drug at 0 time, you may get a single dose profile like this. This is a very common profile. For each drug, there is a rising phase, and then there is a declining phase after 1 dose of administration into the blood level or the plasma level. So the important issue is when it touches to a minimum drug concentration, which is known as a minimum effective concentration. When this time is achieved, that is known as the onset of effect, we get the treatment response started here at onset when it is touching the MEC, and so long it remains above MEC. So you can say from here to here, this profile is above MEC. So this becomes the duration. So long the drug concentration is above MEC, that defines about the duration of effect. The peak is defined as the intensity. Higher is the peak, more will be the intensity of effect. This peak should always be remaining below a maximum safe concentration. There is a maximum effective concentration or maximum safe concentration is there, MSC, and this is a cutoff level above which there is a toxic range. If drug concentration goes above this, then toxicity or side effects may be produced. So what is our objective? Our objective in the treatment is always to keep the drug concentration within the therapeutic range. We can of course define that when it is going to produce the start by knowing the onset, when we can know that how long the effect will be there, that will be measuring the duration, and how intense the effect will be there, that we can measure by the peak level, that is Cmax, and corresponding time is the Tmax, time of peak. So anyway, this is an ideal profile, dotted line, that it is continuously maintaining the drug concentration in the therapeutic range, but this is ideal. It is obtained only into the intravenous infusion. Otherwise, you can see that if you take first dose, second dose, third dose, fourth dose, so there are periods of no effect. I mean, when the drug concentration is below MSC, there is no periods of the no effect is there. And when the drug concentration is above MSC, there is side effects are there. So 4 different doses having 4 different profile is having 4 different types of the effects. That is not desired. That is not actually good for the health as far as the treatment is concerned. So what we desire, this is the ideal profile which we never get except in the intravenous infusion. The profile is like this. First, A1, A2, A3, so these are all the number of doses. So once you are giving dose 1, 2, 3, up to 3rd or 4th, up to 4th dose, there is a rising phase in the peak. With each dose, there is a rising phase of the peak is there, and then there is a continuous maintenance. This continue when the drug concentration starts fluctuating within the constant range. That means peaks are the same and valleys are the same. This is known as the attainment of the steady state. An attainment of the steady state of drug concentration in the blood plasma serum happens when the rate of input of drug becomes equal to the rate of output of the drug. In other words, you can say when the rate of absorption becomes
Sorry for the technical issues. Kindly bear with us for another 2 minutes. Sir is joining through the mobile.
hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So what I am doing, abhi hum time come hai, so I am just time is less. I am just go on speaking what exactly I want to tell. So
Okay,
I will be seeing the slide, and what exactly I am saying is that I will just speak. I think I will be able to convey the message, because if I will go into the sharing of the slide, it may take some more times.
sure, sir, no issues.
So I'm just continuing. In the meantime, अगर ये आ जाएगा, आने का तो chance नहीं है, because there is a continuous problem is happening. Anyway.
Okay, sir. No worries, sir. You can continue our talk.
So actually, what I was telling you that the drug concentration, as I was showing you in the slide, I could not know whether I did not know whether you could see it or not. But the drug concentration, if you take a proper dose and proper dosing schedule, if you are following, the drug concentration is going to follow a specific fluctuation in a constant range within the therapeutic range, and that is what we actually desire. Fluctuation should always happen within the therapeutic range, and that is possible only once we take the drug in a proper dose and the proper dosing interval. So for example, this was the slide which I was showing you. Unfortunately, it is gone. So I just want to tell you that what are the factors which affect this steady state. Actually, just you try to understand that attainment of steady state is one issue. And what is this attainment of steady state drug level in the body? That is the, as I said, that constant level fluctuation within therapeutic range. And that steady state is obtained usually after 4 to 5 times of the T half. Usually after 4 to 5 times of the T half, the steady state is obtained. So let us say if any drug is 2 hours, it is having 2 hours as a T half. So after 10 hours, it is going to have the, maybe in the next dose it is going to attain the steady state. But if the T half is, let us say, 24 hours, so maybe it may take 5 days. 5 days, if it is a 24-hour T half, so after consuming the medicine for 5 days, the steady state will be obtained. So steady state obtainance is very important, because once the steady state is obtained, then only drug level is there in the therapeutic range. Otherwise, it is not there. In the meantime, I am just speaking, but net has also come, so I will just join with the net also. But I am go on speaking. So what I am going to tell you that what are the factors which affect this steady state efficacy? So this is very important to understand. So first factor is the dose. That means if we change the dose, is it going to affect the efficacy of the medicine? So answer is yes. I am joining again. I'm very sorry, this has happened first time, because we are regularly taking the class and this has never happened. Is it visible? Slide?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
So I'm putting off from the mobile again. Okay.
Yes.
So I was showing here that audible. I am audible, huh?
Yes, sir.
I am audible. Okay. So this constant level fluctuation is desired. You know, it happens within the therapeutic range, and this should have happened into the therapeutic range. When it is not in the therapeutic range, you are not going to have the proper treatment. Let us see the effect of different. Like if you change the frequency of dosing, for example, I will go a little fast because I don't know when again the net will go. So for example, a drug is there which is to be given twice a day. Like, so if it is given twice a day, and then if you are taking every 12 hours, twice a day means what? Twice a day means 24 hours divided by 2 means every 12 hourly. If you are taking every 12 hourly, then only you are getting this continuous maintenance of drug concentration in the therapeutic range. But if you change the frequency according to your own, because in spite of 2 hours, in spite of 2 times, if you are taking, let us say it is taking 4 times, that is the 6-hour interval is there. See, so if you are going to take this drug 4 times, your drug concentration is going to, steady state will be there, but it is there in the therapeutic, in the toxic range. You are going to have a very intense treatment effect because of very high level, and at the same time you are going to have the very severe kind of the toxicity, because this concentration is always in the above the MSC level. And if you are going to take the same drug once in a day, which was to be taken twice a day, that every 24 hours if you are taking, in spite of the fact that you are consuming the medicine, it is always below MEC, you are not going to have the effect. So what is the message? The message is that a medicine which is prescribed to be taken once, twice or thrice should be taken exactly on the hourly basis. For example, once a day if it is prescribed, it should be taken every 24 hourly, twice a day, 12 hourly, thrice a day, 8 hourly, and 4 times a day, 6 hourly. And if not, then either you may remain below MSC or you may go above MSC, and that is resulting into a severe toxicity or no treatment effect. So this is the one issue which is very, very important. Second issue is if you change the dose size according to your, if you are prescribed with 1 tablet, 50 milligram, and if you take half tablet to be taken twice, let us say, so if you are taking half tablet, you are going to remain below MSC. People are there who do like this. So if you are reducing the dose, you are not going to have the efficacy because you are not in the therapeutic range. And then if you are taking the double dose, corporate sector people, those who are in very hurry, they want to be treated very fast. So they take double dose. So in spite of 1 tablet, if you are taking 2 tablets, of course you are going to be treated very well because you are going to have very intense effect but at the same time you are going to have the decline. I mean, very serious toxicity is going to happen. So these are the some factors, effect of change in the dose size and the dosing interval. That means the dosing interval once, twice, thrice, and 4 times has to be converted into the number of hours, and dose should never be changed. And if you are following this, then only you are able to maintain the drug concentration in the therapeutic range. Otherwise, there will be a problem. Loading dose concept is there. If there is a maintenance is coming after a long time, so first dose may be double. That is a one concept, that if you make the first dose, or you can calculate pharmacokinetically the loading dose, and for we can have the onset of effect early. For example, if you are taking the double dose first dose, then this fluctuation has come much early. So this is for those cases. For example, if you are having a 150, 105 degree or 106 degree or 104 degree temperature, you want to have the immediate or intense reduction of the fever, or you are having a very severe pain. So first dose maybe 1.5 dose, or maybe one double dose, in order to have the immediate intense effect, and then followed by continuous dose which you are taking in order to maintain the drug concentration in the body. Then overnight no dose is a very serious issue, especially for those drugs which are to be taken 3 times or the 4 times a day. And for example, if you are taking, if you are prescribed a drug with 4 times a day, so you have to always keep 6-hour gap. 4 times a day means 6 hourly, and then 6 hourly means you have to come out of the bed in the night by putting an alarm. So if you are starting at 6 o'clock in the morning first dose, so last dose will be 12 o'clock night. If you are starting 7 o'clock, last dose will be 1 o'clock in the morning. But nobody do like this, and therefore what kind of profile we get? Generally we get this kind of profile: day 1, day 2, day 3. Why it is happening? Because we are not following the 6-hour gap. For example, if you see here, 8 o'clock is taken, then the 6-hour gap is going to come at 2 o'clock, but it has been taken at 1 p.m. 5 hour के बाद ले लिया ये, and then after 1 a.m. 4 hour after it is taken at 5 p.m. So there is only one gap of 4 hours, and then it has been taken at bedtime at 10 p.m. There is a gap of only 5 hours. So you can see 3 hours is skipping. So 6-hour gap has been converted in day hours only in the 4 hours or the 5-hour dosing interval, has resulted into a toxicity after the 4th dose because of crossing the MSC level. And then from the 4th dose till next morning 8 o'clock, there is a huge gap. 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. early morning, this is a 10-hour gap, and this was supposed to be taken at 6-hour gap. So because of the 10-hour gap, the drug concentration in the early morning has come down. So before 8 o'clock, for 2 to 3 hours, you are not going to have the treatment effect because the drug concentration is below MAC. So in the after midnight time, you are going to always have this toxicity every day. You can say periods of toxicity on every day, day 1, day 2, day 3, and no effect period on every day early morning during the morning hours. Why it is happening? Because the patient is not consuming the medicine exactly according to the number of hours of duration, and doctors are also not prescribing in terms of number of hours. That is one of the biggest problem. As you might be knowing that abroad the prescription is always done in the number of hours basis. If it is a number of hours basis, we can always maintain the drug concentration in the therapeutic range, and there may not be any problem. So this is the one of the biggest issue. One should keep in the mind that if really I want to have the continuous treatment and without any side effect, then we should always be able to continuously take the drug with the number of hours basis, rather than दिमाग में ये है that it is there in my So I'm sorry, I'm not showing you the slides because it is almost finished. So what I'm saying is that if it is, let us say, once a day medication, it has to be taken every 24th hour basis. Is it audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So it has to be taken every 24-hour basis, and if you are taking every 24-hour basis, then certainly you are going to have the continuous effect. Now I have shown actually in the slide one case, the patient was every day taking 8 o'clock in the morning, and he is able to maintain the drug concentration in the therapeutic range every day. But what has happened, second day he forgot to take drug at 8 o'clock, and he took the second dose on second day at 5 o'clock in the evening, and that has resulted the disturbance into the profile of drug concentration for 3 days. That is third, fourth, and fifth day also the drug concentration is going into the toxic range for some period. So again, the message is that if we take our drug exactly on the number of hour basis, and then if you are not changing the dose, then you are not going to have any kind of the problem as far as the therapy is concerned. And the last slide is actually I wanted to show a very important slide of intravenous infusion. In intravenous infusion, there is always a problem of uh, at the time of changing the bottle, the generally the people run the liquid in a tap water way. Actually, normally the drug flow is happening in a dropping basis, or let us say glucose or dextrose or saline, whatever it is going on. But usually it happens into the night, midnight time, that the drug flow or the intravenous infusion at the time of changing bottle is flown like a tap water. Now the volume which was supposed to be go into the blood within 2 to 3 hours.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Pena.
Yes. So therefore, what has happened that in case of changing a bottle, I actually have given the name as a kind of midnight syndrome, and this usually happens if the bottle need to be changed after 1 o'clock in the morning, because every day everybody feels sleepy, and the person comes to change the bottle, but while changing the bottle is still 50 ml milliliter or some 100 milliliter of the drug is still left into the bottle, and if the person is dropping this bottle as a normal dropping rate, then it's fine. But the attendant attending the person or patient, they used to say, everybody is feeling sleepy, they used to say, no, no, you just consume it and then you replace the second bottle. So what happens, they will just make the flowing of the fluid with a very fast rate, and as I'm telling you, that volume which was supposed to go for 2 to 3 hours has gone within only few minutes. 2 to 3 hours has resulted into a very sharp peak of that drug or the dextrose or the saline, and resulting into failure of the major organ also, and this results into the death of the patient also because of the negligence. So this is a point of caution for you, that even if you are attending as a friend or as a family member near your patient, and you see that while changing the bottle, it should never be flown with a tap water rate. You ask the nurse or the doctor who is changing to not allow it to flow, because this is a very common negligence, and this is happening in many of the hospital. I have seen with my own naked eye, and also I have discussed on many platform where doctor has been also an audience, and they have accepted it. Yes, sir, this happens. And I used to tell them that the patient is also dying because of one of this reason. And even in death certificate, they write as a intravenous infusion shock. The patient died because of the intravenous infusion shock. Now, this is also a kind of a shock which is given to the patient unknowingly. So this is a very serious issue. We should take care of, especially at the bedside, that patient is always being administered with proper dropping. I mean, with the dropping rate only. It should, while changing the bottle, either it should be replaced without infusing the drug into with a fast rate, or if at all it is being infused, it should be infused with the same slower rate. So this is all I wanted to tell you. Actually, I'm sorry that again I missed some of the slide. So I could not show you. I had a very beautiful pictures of my research team, which is there, very smiling faces, and then in the end, I had a very beautiful. I don't know how many of you or any one of you has visited BHU. In BHU, we have a very big temple known as a Kashi Vishwanath temple. There is a new Kashi Vishwanath. The old Kashi Vishwanath temple is in the city. So in the last of my lecture, I offer my prayer to my own God, because I consider him a God of our own, because this temple is within our own campus. So I offer my prayer in the lotus feet of Lord Vishwanath in my campus temple. And with these words, I again apologize. In this era of uh, net connectivity, pandemic, everything is fine, but some of the times we face, unfortunately today only I have faced this problem, and this Wi-Fi problem is happening since yesterday. I was told that it is recovered perfectly, but it is not. That means perfectly recovered. So I'm extremely sorry for that, for the inconvenience caused to you. So thank you very much. I would be happy if you have any queries. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much. And no worries. Actually, sometimes we face the technical glitches. No problem with that. And if you permit, I'll take a few more questions actually, sir. So we have a
Yes.
question from Nagaswamy Venkatesh, sir. So the question is, will there be any change in half-life of drug when it is administered in modified reduced dosage form? If so, please explain why.
Yes, half-life will change, because depending upon, for example, if you are preparing a sustain and control release formulation, so that means you are going to increase the duration of action. You are going to maintain a drug concentration for longer duration. Delivery is going to happen very slowly. Drug concentration in the plasma will also rise slowly and decline slowly. So this is going to increase in the T-half. And that is the very purpose also, because MRT, mean residence time, is also increased and the T-half is also increased. So in all the formulations, that's why, if you whatever T-half we know of the pure drug. But with the formulation, T-half can always be changed. For IR formulation, the T-half usually remain like a pure drug T-half, but with the sustained and controlled release or modified release formulations, T-half changes. Usually it is higher. I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, sir. We have one more question from Dr. Subhashish Devnath, sir. Is there any scientific base of giving expired date of Ayurvedic preparation other than Charak Samhita? Is
For
there any
expiry date?
scientific? Yes, sir. Is there any scientific base of giving expired date of Ayurvedic preparations other than Charak Samhita?
Even, madam, and whosoever is asking, even if somebody is claiming that I have a scientific data for that, I don't agree with this. A reason for that is that, for example, if you take any drug product from the market, let us say if I talk about Leaf 52, which is a very common product for liver from the Himalaya. So in Leaf 52, if you just see the label, you will find more than 30 Ayurvedic components, Ayurvedic plants materials are there. And individual plant materials, there is not less than 10 phytoconstituents are there. So one cannot, while estimating the expiry life by storing the drug product into the different storage conditions, we assay the drug content at different storage conditions. And this can be possible in the modern medicine only, because their drug is only 1 or 2 or 3, and the drug is known, its method is known of analysis, and everything is known. In the Ayurvedic component, which particular phytoconstituent is exactly effective, that is generally not known, because this is a holistic approach of treatment. And maybe that many phytoconstituents may be contributing toward the treatment of any disease. And therefore, in any case, this is not possible to this is not possible to really estimate scientifically, or let us say quantitatively, the expiry date of the Ayurvedic medicine. So they have to, but I believe into those sense, because whatever expiry dates they have mentioned, I'm Charak Sangita has mentioned, certainly has mentioned with some wisdom, because the Ayurvedic concept of treatment also is having some spiritual input into that. So that is there. I think I have able to answer the question.
Yes, sir. And there is a hand raising by Nagaswamy, sir. Sir, kindly unmute your mic and you can ask your question to the speaker.
Am I visible, madam?
Yes, sir. You are perfectly all right.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mishra sir and Dr. Sucharila madam.
Yes.
There are some papers in which the pharmacokinetic comparison between the immediate release tablets and as well as the sustained release tablets, some parameters are being neglected. And one among the parameter is your T-half. Though it's an important parameter, can we neglect this release? I mean, can we neglect this elimination rate data in the paper in view of publication?
I mean, you are talking that while publishing this kind of data, sustained release versus immediate release, can you skip the T-half? Do you want to?
Yes.
Yeah. If you are measuring MRT, you can skip, because mean residence time also, is give an idea about that how long the drug is going to be in the effective zone. So if MRT is measured, T-half may be skipped. But T-half, is easy to measure rather than the MRT. So anybody would like to first measure T-half rather than MRT.
That's correct, sir. But some of the papers, they are defining that the T-half cannot be changed with regard to drug. My question is, with regard to the pharmacokinetic parameters, whether we will be measuring the elimination half-life or general half-life?
That is the question which I should ask to the audience, how much they know about it. There is a very big confusion in the mind of, for example, I am putting in front of you 3 T-half. I am speaking many half-lives. Let us say if I simply say half-life, I am using certain words, half-life, biological half-life, elimination half-life, plasma half-life, serum half-life, blood half-life, okay? And then I am saying absorption half-life, and then I am saying distribution half-life, and also I am saying elimination half-life.
Okay.
So these are now 10, 11 names I have given. And now if I ask that how many of you know that elimination half-life is which one? So my friend, the T-half is all the T-half which except absorption half-life and distribution half-life, all half-lives are the same. Distribution half-life is different.
Absorption half-life, other two half-lives, you mean to say it is same?
Distribution half-life is different, which is generally not measured but can be measured. Absorption half-life is different, which can be measured and usually measured in order to understand that how fast your drug is moving from the absorption site into the blood circulation. For that, absorption half-life is useful and that can be measured. But all other half-life are indicative of the elimination half-life. So whatever half-life we are knowing or we are representing into our publication or whatever we are seeing into the papers or books, they simply are elimination half-life. Whether it is written half-life or half-time or biological half-life or serum half-life, they are all elimination half-life. And that should be measured. But even if as far as the publication is concerned, even if you do not measure the T-half, but if you are able to show the profile that you are able to maintain the drug concentration at a much higher level till 24 hours or whatever duration we have measured, that is enough. And in the pharmacokinetic parameter, generally Cmax, Tmax, AUC is enough. And then you compare, once you know the AUC, then you can compare the relative bioavailability or absolute bioavailability is possible only if you have the intravenous as a reference. So if you want to compare the bioavailability of your drug product in reference to the, let us say, IR or the drug solution or pure drug, you can measure the relative bioavailability. That data can be given. But T half or the elimination rate constant is not as important, because that is clearly visible even by seeing the nature of the profile.
Okay. The another question which I wanted to post, hope so if I have enough of time to discuss with you.
Yeah, I have time,
Yes,
no
sir,
problem.
you
Please
can.
go ahead.
Yeah. The debate which is going on, the debate which is going on, the T half is an intrinsic parameter of the drug, irrespective of the formulation, whatever you are preparing, will not change. What is your answer on this? Sir, am I audible
T
to
half
you?
is yeah. Okay, I was just drinking water. T half is intrinsic parameter for pure drug. My answer is like
Yes.
this. It is an intrinsic parameter for pure drug only. For formulation, it
Okay.
is going to change. It has to change. It will change. Okay.
Okay.
If it is not changing, then purpose of the formulation is just lost. So for formulation, it will change, because if I am talking about the long-acting formulation, T half has to increase. If T half is not increasing, your purpose is not getting solved. You are not having a long-acting formulation. For example, what do you mean by T half? T half is that time during which the drug level in the body or blood has declined to the 50% level from the original value. So if I say T half of any formulation is only 1 hour, that means drug level is declining very fast as compared to yes.
Hello. I'm sorry, I got some net connectivity issues. My question I wanted to ask you like this. Sir. Please explain me. I am developing an in-house tablet for immediate release formulation with the same drug, increasing the dose. I am developing for the sustained release formulation. What would be your answer? Will there be any variance in the half-life with respect to sustained release dosage form? That is my question.
Yeah. Straightway, only one word answer: the half-life should increase. Should increase. If it is not increasing, that means you sustain release you have not got.
Okay, what could be the probable answer for this one? What may be the reason behind for increasing this half-life? Which could be elimination of life or whatsoever it may be.
Sir, ऐसा है. Just listen. First you try to understand what exactly the meaning of half-life is.
Yes.
Half-life definition clearly says that, let us say if I say half-life of a formulation is 2 hours or a drug is 2 hours, what does it mean? In 2 hours, drug concentration in the body has declined from peak to half level, or from any level to half level.
Correct, sir.
Okay?
Yes.
In sustained release formulation, if let us say your T half remains the same 2 hours, so elimination will happen with the same rate as it is happening into the IR. And if elimination of your drug will happen with the same rate, that means within 2 hours, again in sustained release, if the drug concentration is coming 50% down from the original value, then you are not able to maintain the drug concentration in the body for longer duration. You cannot have the treatment effect for longer duration.
Exactly.
So therefore, in any case, your T half has to increase. Now, let us say I am saying that in your sustained release, your T half has gone to 6 hours. Let us say, for example, if you have estimated it as a 6 hours. Now, in your IR, it was 2 hours. That means in 2 hours, drug concentration in body is declining 50% from original value. In your sustained release, it is taking as high as 6 hours, 4 hours more to decline to 50% from the original value. And that's why it is at the higher level in the therapeutic range for a longer duration, and that's why it is able to produce the treatment effect for longer duration. Okay?
Yes,
So
sir.
T half has to be always higher in the case of sustained and controlled release formulation. If not, it is not a sustained release formulation.
Okay. So the mean resistance time should be more in case of SR formulation. You mean to say that?
Sir, in any formulation, T half may change. T half may change. Okay. For example, let me tell you like this. If it is an IV, intravenous bolus injection, directly drug is getting injected into the vein, okay, into the blood of a drug. It's a T half maybe 15 minutes. Okay. Because very fast decline, very fast elimination is happening. Because peak is obtained immediately, elimination is very fast, T half is going to be very small.
Okay.
T half being small means elimination is very fast. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now same drug is taken as a solution, simple liquid formulation, which is a solution. T
Okay.
half may increase from 15 minutes to 30 minutes or even 1 hour.
Okay.
The same drug is taken now as a tablet, IR tablet. The
Mm.
T half may remain as 1 hour or may go even up to 2 hours.
Mm.
Okay. Now
Okay.
the same drug is going to be taken as an intricate tablet,
Mm.
which is not going to be delivered into the stomach for 2 hours. The T half will not remain only 2 hours from IR comparison. It is
Okay.
going to be little higher. It may be 3 hours. And
Okay.
now if you are talking about from a 2 times a day administration, if you are converting the drug into a formulation of a once a day administration, T
Mm.
half is going to increase not less than 5 to 6 hours.
Okay.
So this is my answer with a clear explanation of everything, because T half is a clear indicative of that how fast or how slow the drug is eliminated out of the body. Okay.
Thank
So
you, sir.
T half being small means elimination is very fast. That means body is getting free from the drug very fast. And if your
Okay.
body is getting free from the drug very fast, you cannot have the maintain the drug concentration in the body in the therapeutic range, and there is no question of any treatment effect for longer duration.
Okay.
But if you are having a T half high, that means elimination is very slow. So drug is not going out of the body as fast as in the case of IR, and therefore you are able to maintain the drug concentration in therapeutic range for longer duration. And that's you
Okay.
are getting the effect for a longer duration. Okay, so T half has to be high in any case.
Thank you so much for the nice explanation, Dr. Mishra. Thank you, madam, for
Thank
giving
you.
me an opportunity to discuss with Dr. Mishra. Thank you. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Hope
this
you're
is
clear.
Dr. Sucharita. What is your name?
Sir.
The person who was asking.
Nagasamy Venkatesh, sir. Sir.
Okay, Venkatesh.
Yes, sir.
I am sorry, actually, I should not say, but this kind of confusion is there in the minds of not only students but also the faculty, even of pharmaceutics and pharmacokinetics or pharmacology.
Yes.
I do not claim myself to be expert of this, but I can claim that there is a very, very huge gap is there in actual understanding of pharmacokinetic behavior of drug and pharmacokinetic properties.
Okay.
So this is and this is all these questions in your mind came only because of that little gap, which somehow is not very clear. I'm not
Yes.
saying that you don't know. Please don't take it otherwise.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But because this is all, once the concept is clear, then things may not be, in any confusing state. Anyway, thank you very much for putting a very nice way and clear-cut question. I hope I could answer to your question. And I always feel very happy to answer these kind of questions. I rather feel very, honored to answer this kind of questions, where I have full confidence how to explain all these kind of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your explanation. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So any other question, Dr. Sucharita?
Yes, sir. I'm checking the chat box now. Yes, sir. There is another question from Sailendra Mahanta. Sir, Sailendra Mahanta, sir, you can unmute your mic and you can ask your query. Probably that might be a better option to get on the understanding about the question. Sailendra Mahanta, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sailendra Mahanta, sir. You can ask your query. I don't know, sir. There is some technical problem as well. Sir was unmuted the mic, but we couldn't able to listen the voice. But I'll read the question, sir. You can deliver the answer. Right?
Okay.
So the question is, sir, metabolic status of people remain different. That even is on the downside during the old age. Do you think new approaches are required to optimize the therapeutic efficacy?
Actually, it's a very good question. Forget about the old people. Even in the young people, let us say if I'm saying young people, maybe in the age of 20 to 30 years of the range. If the person is, let us say, is completely not doing anything, just remaining on chair or remaining on bed, having all kinds of rest, no physical activity, no movement. Even there also, of course, in the old days, there is a movement restriction is very much there. There is a lot of change in the metabolic function of the body. There is a lot of change in the blood flow rate. There is a lot of change in the physiological functions of the body happens. And also the mobility of the person is less. So whenever such kind of inter-individual variations comes, of course, the pharmacokinetic profile of the drug change. When the pharmacokinetic profile of the drug change, naturally efficacy is going to be affected. But it is very difficult to measure in each and every individual case of the aged person or those persons which are very lethargic to how to adjust the dose. Otherwise, maybe that in such cases, the dose adjustment may be needed in order to have the proper effect of the treatment.
Shalindra Mahanta, sir?
Yeah, this is
you
this
had
what
the
I
answer
just
for the question. Okay, so he replied like, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, faculties, any more questions from your side? Please drop your questions in the chat box. Sir, I hope there is no more questions from the participant side. So we're moving for the further proceedings of the session from the management and the principal side. I'm just taking this opportunity to present you a token of an appreciation to you, sir, on this beautiful lecture. And kindly accept this certificate of appreciation from Service
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Tirupati. Kindly accept
Thank
it,
you.
sir. And we'll be sending you in a couple of weeks to your postal address too.
It has been always pleasure to come to Tirupati. I was there in 1.5 years before because having the darshan of Devasthali, always is something which is, so whenever in future I will get a chance, I will certainly, and the pandemic is gone once,
Definitely.
it will be always my pleasure to visit and again have a darshan and may also have some lectures at your place.
Yes, sir, definitely. You're most welcome, sir, and expecting your support in the future webinars too. And we
Sure,
need
sure,
all your
sure.
expertise to be shared to Central College of Pharmacy and all other faculty members of this region, sir.
Okay,
You're
thank
most
you so
welcome.
much.
You're most welcome, sir. And thank you for accepting with this short note. And I must thank Rup Kishan, sir, on this occasion because he's the one who given a contact of you, and that's the reason why you are here on this platform. So
Yes.
together we must thank Rup Kekar, sir, actually.
Yeah. He is a very good friend. Not very good friend, but he is a very senior person. So being of my own field of pharmaceutics, I have a great regard for him, and I thank him also that he has recommended my name. I hope that his recommendation, as me, would have not put him down.
Definitely, sir. You done the best. You done the best. And he's a
Yeah.
old man, but truly he's a very inspirable person, sir. Actually,
Yes.
we the young people must admire him. Actually,
Yes, right.
yes,
In
sir.
fact, I have completed my 36 years of my teaching and research, and I'm one of the senior most person in the department. And somehow teaching is my passion. Teaching whether to students or to anybody, it may be teachers. As I said that I used to teach in many of the academic staff colleges, lectures to different sections of the people. I used to teach the people who is in Sanskrit, in law, in English, in music, in those orientation courses, academic staff colleges. And they all understand. I make them understand. I get so good feedback that they have been, and whenever I somehow, let us say I am somewhere in the airport or a railway platform, somebody is suddenly coming and touching my feet. Sir, you have given that lecture in that orientation course. That gives a very kind of, good feeling that, and then he or she will start saying that I am following and I have got benefited a lot as far as whenever I'm consuming the medicine, because consumption of the medicine is one issue, and there is a lot of negligence. A lot of negligence is happening, and a lot of gap of knowledge is there. We do not know many of the things as a consumer, as a doctor also don't explain. So therefore, many problems are there. Anyway, so the purpose of this talk is always like that, to make a price as much as I can, that how we can increase the efficacy and can have the less side effects. Again, I apologize for this inconvenience of the net problem. But
Yeah.
anyway, any next time I will hope that this problem will not be there.
Yes, sir. We expect for the positive for the next.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
So
so
thank you,
much.
thank you so much, and
Take
thank
care
you
of
all.
you. Yeah,
Sure,
take
same
care
to
of
you
you.
also.
Take care of you, sir. Stay safe and bye,
Bye.
sir.
Bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you.